Two Pizza Hut operators in California are eliminating their in-house delivery at hundreds of stores.
My name is James, the retired banker. I have a degree in economics, and I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you that critical thinking skills, logic, and common sense do not necessitate you having a degree. And everyone is going to be able to understand two basic things that businesses and businessmen and women do every single day that somehow escapes the minds, the psyche, and the insanity of politicians.
Two Pizza Hut operators in California are eliminating their in-house delivery at hundreds of stores. Now, this will result in more than 1,200 drivers being laid off. The layoffs will come in February at 72 California stores. Orange, Los Angeles, Riverside, Ventura, and San Bernardino counties all affected.
Now, the real question is, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Well, the two large Pizza Hut operators in California are laying off all of their delivery drivers ahead of a new state law that raises the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour. The layoff impacts hundreds of Pizza Hut locations across the state, as we heard in that report. The job cuts will take place through February, according to a federal employment notices obtained by Business Insider. The new minimum wage law takes effect in April. Pack Pizza LLC, operating as Pizza Hut, has made a business decision to eliminate first-party delivery services. As a result, the elimination of all delivery driver positions. The second Pizza Hut franchisee, Southern California Pizza Co., is laying off roughly 841 drivers, according to another notice. The current minimum wage in California is $16 per hour. The increase to $20 comes after the passage of Assembly Bill 1228, which aims to help fast food workers cope with the rising cost of living and inflation in the Golden State. The bill's authors say a large percentage of fast food restaurant workers are living at or below the federal poverty line, and a significant number are enrolled in the state's safety net programs. Okay. Anyone who isn't a millennial or one of the other generations, can you really picture a time? I'm in my 40s. Okay. And I have children I have 4 children. My 2 oldest children are in their mid 20s, and my youngest are teenagers, 18 and 19 respectively. Now, was there ever a time in our lifetimes, those in your 40s and older, where working at a fast food restaurant was meant to be a living wage that you could support a family on? Was that the thought? I remember my first job was at doing ice cream at Thrifty's Ice Cream when it was Thrifty drugstores. And then my second job, to this day, I don't remember if it was Burger King or McDonald's, but I only lasted like 3 weeks. High turnover in teenagers, because I ended up getting an office job, and my little tutoring business that I had was taking off, and it was making way more than working at McDonald's or Burger King. To this day, I don't remember. I should probably ask my parents. My dad will probably remember. He's got a great memory, who I worked for. But those were jobs that teenagers had, and then the joke was, hey, fast food's run by teenagers. And of course, you would have a manager, an assistant manager, and some of the other people would be adults, but it was mostly staffed by children. Teenagers. They didn't need to have a wage to support a family, but definitely needed to have work experience. And this was a kind of low-skilled labor job. Low-skilled labor jobs generally do not equate to a living wage for a family, at least not on one low-skilled labor wage income. The article also goes on to say,
chains like Chipotle and McDonald's say they plan to pass the cost of higher wages in California to customers by raising menu prices. I wonder if this is also in part because it's easier to offset the delivery to Uber Eats.
that the fast food chains Chipotle and McDonald's have already announced they plan to raise menu prices in California to offset the higher cost of worker compensation. So see, what happens here is these bureaucrats that work in the government, they don't understand basic economics. Part of the problem is many of them have never actually worked a job outside of government. No, seriously. They went to school, high school. They went right into college, didn't work. They either got loans or their parents paid for them. Then they either went into master's degrees or they went right into working for government, and they have no idea of what an actual job in the private sector is like. And most of them have never even owned a business. So they don't understand that when you have a business, you have a profit motive. You have a motive to, you have expenses, and then you have revenue. That's all the money that comes in. Then you have your expenses, and then you take your expenses, you minus that from your revenue, and in basic terms, that is your profit. I mean, we can go to EBITDA and other things, but that's not necessary. Okay, that's your profit. And what are some of those costs that will eat into your profit or increase the cost of doing business or your expenses? Labor is one of them. And if labor gets expensive, then what do you have to do? You have to either cut back labor or raise prices, or in the case of what's happening in California, both of them. It's basic economics. They just can't say, oh, now you have to have a higher minimum wage, and then the price is going to stay the same and everyone's still going to be employed. So what they did is, according to this article, just from these two franchisees, looks like there's thousands of people, 1,200 in one and 800 in another franchise. 2,000 frontline workers, first party delivery out. Now, what does first party delivery mean? That also means another thing in business is that when things get tough, people who are smart will find other opportunities. So there has been increasing wages and minimum wage for drivers, and there's been other difficulty for drivers, like for instance, the increase in gas prices. So what has that done? That's made it so there's more opportunity for people doing DoorDash and Uber Eats and what have you. Those are third-party food deliveries. So now, instead of these people having a job working for a fast food chain or a pizza delivery chain, they no longer are not going to have a job. They're going to be replaced by third-party delivery, which some may argue may be more efficient. Because instead of you having one driver or 5 drivers, let's say, on a shift, I don't know what the numbers are. I've never worked that side of retail. I don't really have much retail outside of retail banking experience. But let's say you have 5 drivers driving in a shift for a Pizza Hut. All they're doing is delivering pizza. If it's a slow night or they're backlogged or there's a problem with the kitchen, that's going to affect the drivers. But Uber Eats, well, they're delivering for Pizza Hut, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Del Taco, Chipotle, fill in the blank of whatever favorite place you like to order from if you use Uber Eats or any of the other food delivery services. The businesses are going to adapt. And many times that is going to lead to the elimination of those jobs and also increase automation. How many of you have been to a McDonald's recently and have seen that you have to order on the menu on the digital pad, whereas before you would go and give your order to an employee? I'm sure we all have if you go to McDonald's. I try to avoid it as much as possible. But like I said, I do have children, nieces and nephews and what have you. And unfortunately find myself in McDonald's more often than I care to admit, though it is a very rare thing. Okay, so now let's look at another instance of something completely, not completely different, but a little bit different here. Also, let's go to the Wall Street Journal here. Because businesses adapt. That's what I want us to understand. And I wish politicians would understand. Businesses adapt. Restaurants have ways to stop you from splitting meals. As more diners share appetizers and entrees at the table, eateries rework their menus. So with the high price of food and the increased prices of eating out, people are now trying to still have the luxury of eating out, but being more smart and economical about it, like splitting meals and sharing appetizers and maybe not ordering entrees or ordering one entree and splitting that entree. Well, once again, a business has a profit motive. They are not a charity. They have to pay their employees, their leases and what have you to stay in business. So what are they to do? They adapt, something that politicians don't seem to understand. Now, this one's not necessarily political, but let's look at how some of these businesses in the restaurant field are rightly adapting. Looking to split entrees or stick with starters to save on your next dinner out? Restaurants are on to you. After years of pushing small shareable plates and rising prices that have prompted some customers to split dishes to save money, restaurants want you to order more. So they're introducing hard-to-share menu items and asking servers to nudge diners to load up on extra small plates. It's an attempt to keep customers happy and checks high and their employees employed and the business in business. Keep that business in business. So what are they doing? Check this out. Oh, by the way, according to this article, the latest consumer price index showed the cost of food away from home climbed 5.3 over the 12 months ended in November. I wish I had the number here, but the rise in food prices is actually higher than that. So in many instances, if you do this right, it can be cheaper for some people to eat out, given that buying groceries, the inflation on groceries is higher than the inflation or the increased prices in eating away from home. In theory, but of course they do things like they do things like shrinkflation, where you're paying 10% more or 5.3% more, but you're getting 15% less food. And this is what they're doing. Check this out. Very smart of these businesses. That's why they're in business. Restaurants don't want to forbid splitting, says Abraham Merchant, chief executive of the New York-based management company with 17 affiliated restaurants. Instead, his restaurants are trying subtle strategies like creating single-bite items, like a duck confit spring roll meant for one, without getting rid of splittable options like roasted carrot hummus. So what they're doing is saying, hey, no one's going to split like one thing that you bite into. So let's just have them order a whole bunch of one bite things per person so that we're increasing orders. People aren't splitting it. They can still enjoy eating out. Maybe they're ordering less food, but we're making it up in volume because instead of ordering, one, they're ordering 5 or 6 and maybe not splitting it, or they're splitting it. They're buying 6 instead of 2 or 3. They're being smart about this because they want to be an ongoing concern. They want their business to stay open. So when they are hit with market challenges, they adapt. So funny that people that went to government schools who are now running the government and learned about evolution, whether you believe in evolution or not, you're taught evolution in school, that you adapt to your environment. Yet these politicians don't understand that businesses will adapt to the environment. When diners share fewer dishes linger too long, or don't run up bills with alcohol, it can be tough to offset expenses like higher labor costs, says Ann McBride, Vice President of Programs like the James Beard Foundation. And once again, when you increase minimum wage laws, you increase the price of labor. So they just cut back or get rid of labor altogether. Why is this so hard for politicians to understand?